Hello, welcome to e-learning session of intestinal nematodes. Today we will be discussing hookworm, that is Ankylostoma duodenum. The objective of today's sessions are: first we will see general features of hookworm, its morphology, life cycle, pathogenicity, and finally prevention and control. So if we see hookworm, there are two worms basically. One is known as Ankylostoma duodenum and other is known as Necator americanus. The Ankylostoma duodenum is known as Old World hookworm, which is seen in the northern Africa, Asian part, while Necator americanus, which is known as New World hookworm, which is seen in South America, Australia, southern part of India and the Africa. So basically they are very much similar in its pathogenicity. There are differences in the morphology. We'll see later on in the hookworm name derived from its characteristic shape, that is hook-like, because the worm is bent and giving typical resemblance to the hook. The Ankylostoma duodenale, the name again ankylostoma means hook-like body, and as it is seen in the small intestine, the name derived from that. It is basically longer and stouter than the Necator americanus, which is shorter and thinner than the Ankylostoma. It is common infection throughout the globe except developed countries, so more common in tropics or countries of Africa, South America, Indian subcontinent. These are the countries where you will see the largest worm burden of this disease. The habitat of this worm is, though its name is duodenale, but the adult worm live in the small intestine, especially in the jejunum. If we see the morphology, as we have already discussed, it looks like a piece of thread but curved, looking like hook of around 1 centimeter. And they are light pinkish when they are living because they are sucking the blood, so that would give characteristic that color to the worm. Like other intestinal nematode, female is slightly larger than male, and male's posterior end is expanded to form a copulatory bud. I will just show you. This is the typical curved shape which looks like hook. This is female one which has a pointed tail. This is male which is slightly shorter than female, and its tail is not pointed but there is a expanded copulatory bursa. This would help the male in the sexual reproduction. So that is the morphology of. There is a slight difference in the mouth of both the worm. Ankylostoma duodenale, there is two pair of teeth on the upper side of the mouth, while in Necator americanus there are cutting plates. There are few other differences are also there. You can refer to textbook for the detailed differences of Ankylostoma duodenale and Necator americanus. Morphology of egg, the size is around 60 to 40 micrometer in size and oval shape. It is non-bile stain, so you can see this is thin and colorless shell, and which contains 2 to 8 some cells. Okay. When it grows, the number of cells would increase. So that is the morphology of the egg. But the thing you have to remember here is it is non-bile stain. So, and it is very thin. So size is just like Ascaris lumbricoid, but the Ascaris lumbricoides bile stain. This is known bile stain. Now the most important thing, that is the life cycle. So here human is the only host. There is no other host. So human is the definitive host and the only host of this worm. The infective form to human being is the filariform larva. This larva would produce infection to the human being. The route of entry is here different. Till now, which we have seen that all of the intestinal nematodes were contaminating or entering in the human being via ingestion, while here route of entry is skin. So when person walks barefooted on the land which contains filariform larva, this larva can enter through the skin, intake skin. It does not require any abrasion also, and enter in the human being. So that is the route of the entry. Once it enters in the human being, it would follow the heart-lung circulation. It would go in the bloodstream. Through that it would reach to the heart. Through heart it would reach to the lung. It would grow in size. It would break the alveoli, crawl upward in the respiratory tree. Through the epiglottis it would again come in the esophagus. Again it would molt itself, and finally in the small intestine it would convert itself into adult worm. So this is how it enters in the human being. So what you have to remember is route of entry is skin, and it follows heart-lung circulation just like Ascaris lumbricoides. Finally, after fertilization, female worm would lay many eggs that would be excreted in the stool, and this is the diagnostic stage. But this egg is not infective. It has to develop itself into soil. First it would convert itself into rhabditiform larva. Again that rhabditiform larva is not infective. That rhabditiform larva in soil would convert itself into filariform larva. This larva would stay on the tip of grass and all that. And finally when person walks on that, or any skin portion of any person would come in the contact with this, it may be hand or other part of skin, it would again enter in the human being. So this is the life of this worm. Now we see pathogenesis. Basically the adult worm sucks the blood and feed on the venous tissue. And to suck the blood they have a powerful anticoagulants, which is a heparin like anticoagulants, which would ensure the free flow of blood to the worm. And in case of heavy infection of this worm, there would be substantial blood loss. We suck the blood. You can see this is intestinal part. This is histological section. This is the villi of the intestine, and this part is the buccal capsule of the worm, and this is worm itself. Okay. And the esophagus of worm would produce a pumping action, and with that it continuously sucks the blood from the small intestine. So this is how it sucks the blood from the, and this is how it looks like in the intestine. You can see the plenty of worms, and they are looking pinkish because they have sucked large amount of blood from the intestine. Pathogenicity, again you can divide into two parts. One is the pathogenicity due to larva, and other is pathogenicity due to adult worm. The larva produces dermatitis when it enters in the skin and moves in the skin. So it is known as ground itch, and the other is pneumonitis. It is when it would break the alveolary capillaries and crawl upward in the lung. So there would be allergic reaction, that is also known as Loeffler syndrome, where you can patient would have dry cough and eosinophilia. These are the common symptoms of that. You can see here, this is ground itch. The movement of worm is seen on the foot. The pathogenicity due to adult worm in the intestine, there would be epigastric pain and there would be constant blood loss. So if you compare Ankylostoma duodenale sucks more blood because it is a larger worm compared to Necator americanus. So A. duodenale sucks 0.2 ml of blood per worm per day, and here it is 0.03. So there is a constant blood loss, and when there is a worm burden is very huge, it results in the anemia, and typically iron deficiency anemia, because there is a depletion of the iron depot due to chronic and constant blood loss. The patient would be suffering from iron deficiency anemia. This worm sucks the blood, it changes the site, so the previous slide also bleed for the some time. So there would be GI bleeding, blood consumes plasma, RBC would be excreted in the feces and plasma would be utilized by the worm for its nutrition. So there would be even hypoproteinemia to the patient. Now lab diagnosis, it is very easy. You can see the egg in this stool, which is non-bile stain, having very thin shell, so very characteristic and easily identifiable. Focal blood test would be positive due to GI bleeding. So these are the important things you have to notice. The other thing which you will notice in a heavy infection is the hypochromic microcytic anemia. You can see this is due to deficiency of the iron. Again, it depends on the dietary supplement of iron, because if person does not have proper dietary supplement of iron, this would be very pronounced effect of anemia. Prevention and control, this is unified measure. Number one is sanitary disposal of night soil, because if feces will contaminate the soil, that soil would be having filariform larva, and when person would walk barefooted on that soil, that person may get infection. Individual protection by wearing shoes, so larva could not enter. Health education is the key, and treatment like other intestinal nematodes, albendazole or mebendazole could be used. So finally, in the summary, two things you have to remember. One is the life cycle. You have to remember that it would not enter through ingestion of contaminated food. The route of entry of hookworm is skin. When person walks barefooted on contaminated soil, the filariform larva would enter. So that you have to remember, that is the difference. Otherwise, the heart-lung circulation is almost similar to Escherichia lumbricoides. And in pathogenicity, you have to remember that this worm would suck the blood, and when the infection is heavy, there would be chronic and constant blood loss, which may lead to iron deficiency anemia, which would look hypochromic and microcytic in nature. So with this, we finish today's lecture. Thank you for remembering.